Thinking about changing locations and shit. Man, into this motherfucking bag. Stand on the way I made. Sacrificing time for this shit. Man, I got a plan. Tried to tell niggas years ago. They ain't understand. Riding by myself and it's cool. I'm all in my head. Everything in life you can't replace. I build relationships. Pretty little smile make a nigga wanna lock it in. We met the same time I lost a friend. We should try again. You been on my mind. You should hop in. I ain't gon' hurt you, baby girl. You know we locked in. Used to be on FaceTime calls on the regular. Never made time, landed on my busy schedule. Now every time I get the bay, you know I think of you. Working on your brand, love, you know.
Reporting live from the liquor store, man. And when all three of us come together, man, it's Cowboys Uncut.
Scottis.
West Coast Cowboy in the middle, the Kanye West of this content stuff.
And I'm a day one type of girl. Ain't nothing wishy-washy over here. I don't jump around, stick to one side. Yeah, the silver, the blue, we got them in their feelings. That star on the field, come pay the D a visit. They say it's hatred, is it? I call it hate and simping. Cause if we wasn't that hating, they wouldn't be in our business. Listen, West Coast say the water tastes better. The fan base go harder, and all the ladies get wetter. Yeah, that's how it is when you straight reppin' for Dallas. We get it in the trap, and landlord tell us what's happening. No explanations in no shape, form, or fashion. When Henny drop the stats, ain't nothing else to be asking. Them numbers don't lie, that's why your argument dry. And we still got them rings, you got your eyes on our prize. Whether an eagle, a giant, or a commando, you in the parking lot crying, we in the Lambo, we stay in our bag, we run it up in the draft. You still talking about the 90s, so who's stuck in the past? Get off me, and I'ma need you 6 feet back. And we ain't hearing nothing till your team beat that. And we ain't scared of running. So one team over here, this Cowboys, believe it. Yeah, it's you got us a poet. Big up West Coast Cowboys, HTM Sports, and Landlord from Alabama. Y'all check them boys out, man. Don't play around with the Cowboys content. Yeah, and you know it's DC. Yeah, DC4L. All day. Every day.
My dear Aunt Sally, we is at the P right now. We gotta go to free agency, then we gotta go to draft, then we can talk about training camp.
And Stephen Jones, who's also a multi-millionaire, moves and feels like a what? Like a dude that is got $15 in his bank account.
We finna come marching to Dallas with our picket signs, ticket torches, everything we can find.
And we are live. What's good with y'all, man? It's your boy, Henny Damore, reporting live from the liquor store, man. How's everybody doing today? And hey, listen, I'm not going to fake the funk like I'm just excited to watch Dallas Cowboys continue to tank and lose games for the remainder of the 2024 season. So we're pivoting, man. Listen, I may or may not even watch the game today. Like, I got to go to work later on in the afternoon, so I might even take a nap during the game. But, you know, we're going to look forward to the future. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2025 season, what to actually expect, where we stand at cap-wise, where we currently stand at, you know, with draft compensation and things like that. What should we do? Can we be a competitive team in 2025? You know, those are some of the things that I'm going to touch on today. And I will talk a little bit about what happens today. Like, I'm going to spend most of the show on the future and just a little bit on what's going on currently in Cowboys Nation. So salute to everybody out there. Also, shout out to my boy, I believe it was E. Hunter, who hit the Cash App with the $5 donation. I appreciate that. As you do know, I am currently beefing. The biggest beef of the year was not Drake and Kendrick Lamar. It has been YouTube against the independent content creators. Currently, both me and Landlord are demonetized on YouTube because they're trying to hate us out. So if you want to help keep the lights on in the liquor store, you want to help keep the lights on in the trap, make sure you hit our Cash Apps, man. You know, they can stop what we do on YouTube, but they cannot stop the Cash App. So Hit $ Henny the More if you want to help support the liquor store, as my boy E Hunter just did. And help us out so we continue to create this great content. Mr. Dika, I see you. JV B-Boy in the building, I see you. Jameson Taylor, Justin Kitchen, my guy. Israel Madrid, Jameson Taylor in the building. Let's see who else is out here. JJ the Mind, Himothy. Hey, that's a dope name. Yeah, everybody out there in Cowboys Nation, Miss Regina Green with the green, I see you. And hey, listen, and I know all hope is lost, but still, I am compelling you to slap the shit out of an Eagles fan, man. Go ahead, find one. They out and about, strutting around, shit hanging out their mouth. So you can go ahead and slap one up, man. I'll give you a discount in the liquor store. But without further ado, though, man, let's go ahead and get into it. Salute to my boy Justin Kitchen with the $10 cash out, man. I appreciate you for the support. Y'all want to be just like my brother, Mr. Kitchen, and support the liquor store, keep the lights on. Make sure y'all hit that cash out, man. Oh, also share the content. We are getting fairly close to 3,000 subs. I appreciate all y'all that already subbed up. Tell a friend, tell a foe, tell a pimp, tell a hoe to come in to the liquor store, man. Man, hey, landlord's great, man. He had a hair appointment, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, cause I had got my stuff retwisted the other day, so I'm a little bit ahead of the game. You know, we gotta look presentable when we go around family for the holidays. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and get into it. So one thing I will touch on about what's going on today, the Dallas Cowboys matchup with the Commanders, is we did have a surprise. Inactive today. All-Pro guard Tyler Smith will also miss the matchup. He came up with a ankle injury out of nowhere. I don't believe he was on the injury report this week. I'm not sure what happened, what's going on. So the Dallas Cowboys will be without both Zach Martin and Tyler Smith. So Washington has a fairly solid defensive front. I am concerned about Cooper Rush holding up. We know he's not the most athletic or mobile quarterback. Offensive line has already had its issues this year, and that was with Tyler Smith and Zach Martin, on the field. So, say a prayer for Cooper Rush today. That's all I'm gonna say. He's going to need it. So, I will say this though. Yeah, and we'll just talk about all the inactives. The other inactives today outside of Tyler Smith, as reported by Patrick No C. Walker, Zach Martin, Trayvon Diggs. We also know that Pro Bowl tight end Jake Ferguson will miss the game. He's in concussion protocol and could not clear. Tyrus Wheat was a healthy scratch, and Deuce Vaughn was a healthy scratch. So those are the players that will be missing from the Dallas Cowboys starting lineup today. Did not need to say Dak Prescott, of course, because he's on IR. So those are all the guys currently on the active roster. Brandon Cooks did not make it. They did not activate Brandon Cooks off of IR. He might be able to make it for the Thanksgiving Day game. So you'll be without Brandon Cooks again another week. But Deron Bland is playing though. Yeah, I know. Entire team just about is incapacitated one way or the other. This is the only, every thundercloud, every dark cloud has a silver lining. The season is already lost. It's not like the Dallas Cowboys are playing for anything other than, draft position at this point. Mathematically, it's almost improbable for the Dallas Cowboys to actually go on a run and make it into the postseason as everything stands right now. You got wild card teams with 7 wins. You're going to have teams playing road games with probably 11, 12 wins. So it's a rough year, to be a bad team, because there are a lot of good teams in the NFL right now. Sneaking into the playoffs at 9-8 is not really probable, right? So the only good thing I can say about Zach Martin and Tyler Smith being out is that you get an opportunity to take a look, at the depth on your roster, right? Because remember, one of the reasons why I am not pro draft an offensive lineman in the draft this year is because the Dallas Cowboys have utilized a lot of draft capital on the offensive line since 2020. They have drafted 9 offensive linemen, and that's not counting the people they brought in as undrafted free agents. So there's been over, a dozen guys Dallas Cowboys have brought in. Even this year, we drafted 3 offensive linemen. We drafted Tyler Guyton in the first round, who's been up and down all year. Cooper Beebe has been pretty solid. And then Nathan Thomas, who is another tackle who has not had an opportunity to take the field due to a lingering injury. So the Dallas Cowboys have utilized a lot of draft capital and a lot of, roster space for undrafted free agents on the offensive line. So some of those guys that have been developing, coming along, I want to see them get an opportunity to play at this point, since there's nothing really to play for. You don't risk, and I know it sounds bad, but Dak Prescott is already hurt. You don't risk hurting a quarterback that has value to your team if anything happens to Cooper Rush or Trey Lance or Will Grier. So you get an opportunity to let them play. So picture it like this. Zach Martin's out, right? So you slide TJ Bass in. You give him opportunities to play, and you give him developmental reps. And he might look good enough to where, instead of using a pick on a guard, because I just seen that TJ Bass can play well at that position, I can go and get me a wide receiver. I can draft this running back I was looking at. I can draft this edge rusher I was looking at. I don't have to worry about the offensive line at that point, right? And so on and so forth. So let's say that you want to get rid of Terrence Steele next year. You want to cut him. Save that money. Clear that cap space, because he hasn't really played well this year or last year for that matter. Right? So Mr. Sadika said, why do they think they are tanking? I don't know if they're actively tanking. I don't think they're actively tanking. I also just think you're so bad you're not going to win games. You're so bad you're not going to win games. Because remember, you were in no position to win games when Dak Prescott was here and healthy. You were in no position to win games when your defense was full. When Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence was here, you were still losing games. So, it is what it is. Defensive tackle. In a perfect world, and I'm going to bring this all back around to me talking about the 2025 season. In a perfect world, we would build this team through free agency and be able to draft BPA in the draft. In a perfect world, if you have an issue at wide receiver, you pony up the money to go get somebody like a T. Higgins to pair him up with CeeDee Lamb for the next 4 years. If you have a problem at defensive tackle, you can make a trade or bring in a veteran guy like Tiari Tart to help you, sew up the middle of your defense. But we know the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the issue. That's why when people talk about the draft with the Dallas Cowboys, they're either so far over here for skill position players or they're so far over here for trench play, because they know that's the only time the Dallas Cowboys will actually address that need. If we were a regular, properly functioning team and we had all these holes, I think everybody will be talking about the draft from a different perspective or a different viewpoint. You know what I'm saying? I think we need to look at it from a different. We could look at it from a different perspective or a different viewpoint if we knew the Dallas Cowboys were more proactive in free agency. That's why people are standing and dying on the hill of getting a wide receiver. That's why people are standing and dying on the hill of getting an edge or a defensive tackle. Because we're bad in both areas, but we know because the Dallas Cowboys are not a big spender in free agency, and we know because they put so much stock on these draft picks that it's going to be either or, unfortunately. You're either going to be throwing to some backup, 6-round pick, 7-round pick wide receivers, or you're going to have some journeyman defensive tackles out there trying to help you stop the run. Neither one is good for business. Neither one will be conducive to the Dallas Cowboys winning football games. But we know with the way that they construct these rosters, they usually build them top heavy with some, journeyman guys, some low caliber draft picks, And then, they go and try and plug another hole next off season, even though there's other holes are going to pop up. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is, right? The Dallas Cowboys don't really manage the roster the way that they need to. So that's one of the reasons why I think people are so either far left or far right on what we should do in the draft. Me personally, my stance on it. Is that they've been playing in preseason mode all season. I feel it. I definitely can see that. And listen, if you treat all these games like preseason games and you're just out there evaluating the talent, evaluating the names on the jersey, seeing if they can play, seeing if you want them here next year, like the games would be a lot more, palatable for you. It'd be a little bit easier for you to, take it in and digest. Because we're proud. Listen, we're a proud fan base. We won a lot of championships back in our heyday. We've been a very good regular season team for years. We always felt like we were one play or one player away from getting over the hump. And that's just not the case this year. That's just not the case this year. We are actually a bad football team. We actually have holes here, there, and everywhere else. And, depending on what the Dallas Cowboys do in the offseason will be dependent on if we're able to compete in 2025. So now let's talk about that 2025 season. Let's discuss it. As it currently stands, what people do not really realize is the Dallas Cowboys are in position to clear a lot of cap space. I'm not saying that they will, right? That will go against their entire MO. We know Stephen Jones. We know Jerry Jones. We know that they don't like kicking the can down the road. They love the cap. They love cap flexibility and all that other stuff. But the Dallas Cowboys are able to create about $100 million in cap space if they want to. Hold on. If they want to. All right. So these are some things that they can do. So as it currently stands, and I got this on Twitter. I forget which creator this was from. I forget if it's Outlaw Cowboy or Defy Talks. Either way, go follow both. They're real good follows on Cowboy Twitter. Always got some good cap numbers. Always got some good takes. So you can definitely tap in with them fellows. Get them a like, follow, subscribe. So the Dallas Cowboys can currently carry over $21.5 million. That's what we got. And this is cap space that you carry over along with the dead money from Martin, Cooks, and D-Log. As you know, they're all free agents. Neither of the trio that I just mentioned will probably be back in Dallas next year. Right? Then what we forget, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb got extended. But built within those contracts or restructured mechanisms, the Dallas Cowboys can flip and create cap space. So if you were to restructure Dak Prescott, you could create an additional $37.2 million in cap space. You would have to do that anyway to maneuver, right? You would have to do that anyway to maneuver, sign your own players, do this, do that, and the third. CeeDee Lamb is quite the same as well. You can pull the lever built into his contract and create an additional $20.5 million. Right? So, if you wanted to, you could restructure Dak Prescott. You could restructure CeeDee Lamb. And those two moves alone would net you about $57.7 million. So that's $57.7 million that the Dallas Cowboys, can create right there. Terrence Steele. If you wanted to restructure Terrence Steele, you could. Right? You could. I wouldn't restructure Terrence Steele. I might make him a cap casualty depending on how I feel about the guys behind him at right tackle. So far, up to this point, he has surrendered the most sacks in the National Football League. He's given up 7. So, yeah. I was willing at one point, to give him the injury excuse because he, had flashed at one point. But Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like he was really a solid tackle for a very long time. Not for listen. Ain't gonna say he was a solid tackle for a very long time. He showed flashes. He was solid at one point in time, but after the injury, he never got back to form, and I don't think he ever will. At least he got paid. Hopefully, he put some money up. But I don't think he will be a Dallas Cowboy next year. I don't think Terrence Steele will be a Dallas Cowboy next year. I definitely misspoke when I said he was a good tackle for a long time. That's an entire lie. So forgive me for saying such a thing. But yeah, that's one thing I would not do. But a Michael Parsons extension, that's something we all want. That's something that we want to see. Michael Parsons getting an extension with clear cap space, just like Dak Prescott. Okay, see, that's even better. Because I didn't have the numbers in front of me. But my boy Keystone's advised that making Steele a post-June cut would save $14 million. So let's do that. Right? So let's do that. Let's take our own math. This was a good tool for reference, but let's take our own math on this. So let's say we restructure Dak Prescott. And that's $37.2 million we save. Let me put that in the calculator. 37.2 plus the 20.5 we saved from restructuring CD Lamb, and then you add that in with the $14 million you get from making Terrence Steele a post-June first cut, and that gets you up to $71.7 million. So we've saved even more money than what's been illustrated here. So we're even further ahead of the curve. And hey, Mr. Dika, I don't blame you. When you're talking about return on investment, you spend a second round pick to bring in Schoonmaker. He has underperformed up to this point. And when you talk about Terrence Steele, you made him one of the highest paid right tackles in the National Football League. He has not played like it. If anything, he has been a liability. He has been a liability for a long time. The last 2 seasons has not been a good football, the best tape he's had. So, it might be time to part ways with both of those guys. Now, Schoonmaker might unfortunately make it because they did spend a premium pick on him, and I don't think they'll let him walk. But also, if Bob McCarthy is gone and they got a different coaching staff in here, I'm not sure he'll have any sponsors left in the building anyway. So he might end up being vanquished at that point. So it is what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, so we got up to $71.7 million just off that. Then he said Terrence Steele is rated the worst right tackle in football and pass pro. Yee, Jesus. I knew he had given up the most sacks, so listen, I don't always, go with the PFF grades, but if you gave up the most sacks in the National Football League, it's not above the realm of possibility. You know what I'm saying? That he is the worst pass blocking right tackle in the league. Like, that lines up, right? That lines up when you think about it like that. All right, so let's add that 71.7 to this 16 we saved from Michael. That's 87.7 right there. Said rather get Travis instead of Deion's son in the first round pick. Yeah, listen. This is my stance on drafting a quarterback right now. The Dallas Cowboys are probably one of the worst landing spots for a young quarterback as it stands. The Dallas Cowboys offensive line is horrible. Horrible. They only have one wide receiver. The other wide receivers rank towards the bottom of separation, and both of the quarterbacks that played this year have led the league in tight window throws. Dak Prescott did it. Now Cooper Rush is doing it because they are not creating separation. They have no semblance of a run game to support said quarterback, and the defense is a turnstile. So you have no defense, no run game, no way to protect the quarterback, and no real weapons for the quarterback to throw to outside of CeeDee Lamb. This will be a horrible spot for a quarterback to land at. So regardless of who your quarterback is, your team is not currently built to support a quarterback. You cannot you cannot even support the veteran all-pro quarterback that you have. What makes you think you could draft a rookie quarterback with no experience in the NFL and support them with the same supporting cast? So no, in my opinion, I would much rather draft anything than a quarterback right now. If you want to draft a quarterback in the 5th round or the 3rd round or something like that, so you can have a backup to replace Cooper Rush or Trey Lance because they'll both be free agents, that's fine. I'm not spending a 1st round pick on one. I'm not spending a 1st round pick on one. And I'll say this. If we're talking about getting the cream of the crop, if you want to get a generational quarterback in Dallas, there's a quarterback whose timeline lines up better than Shedeur Sanders. It's Arch Manning. If you're talking about a quarterback that you could draft, down the line, probably won't be coming out into the 2027 draft, you could draft Shedeur Sanders. Not Shedeur Sanders, but you could draft Arch Manning, who is a 3rd generation quarterback playing in the SEC in Austin, Texas, down the street from where the Dallas Cowboys are. And Dak Prescott will be on his way out at that point. There really would not be much of a quarterback controversy at that point. Because at that point, I think Dak will only have 1 year left on his contract. So you could draft a quarterback, let him sit behind Dak Prescott for a singular year, run it back one more time, let Dak Prescott go out, as the captain of the ship, and let him hand the keys over the very next year. Now, you would have to probably either be horrible or trade away the future to get somebody like Arch Manning. But, if we're talking about drafting a quarterback to Dallas to be the heir apparent, you might want to look at Arch, because right now, money wise and everything else, it don't line up for Shedeur. It'll be a horrible situation. Oh no, it's fine. I got you, Miss. I got you. We're not even talking about it no more anyway. So let me take that off the screen so everybody can see everything that's going on. You good, you good, Mr. Deacon. I got you. But yeah, that's the quarterback whose timeline actually fits with Dallas. It's not Shedeur Sanders right now while the team is horrible. It's Arch Manning after the team gets rebuilt, after Dak Prescott then played out a lion's share of his contract. That's the guy. And I'm not going to take full credit for that thought. Me and my brother landlord had this conversation like a week ago. Like me and my boy been on that. We had this conversation about a week ago, juggling ideas back and forth, and it made perfect sense. So but we'll talk about that. Different. That's some stuff to talk about in 2027. That's stuff to talk about in 2027 or whenever Arch come out. We need to talk about 2025. So as you can see, the Dallas Cowboys can indeed create all the cap space in the world if they want to. The issue is, will they be willing to spend that cap space once they create it? Will they be willing to spend that cap space? Because listen, I'm not narrow-minded. I think 2027. Because you got to think about it. Arch will only have 1 year as a starting Arch will only have 1 year as a starting quarterback if he came out in 2026. He will play the entire 2025 season, and that will be his only year as a starting quarterback. He does not have to rush to get to the NFL. He comes from a well-off family. His granddaddy had money, but his daddy got money. Both his uncles got money. He went to Texas, got a massive NIL deal. He got money. So I don't think that Arch would rush to come out. I don't think that Arch would rush to come out the draft. I think if Arch does not feel that he's ready, he'll come back to Texas for another year. I realistically think that Arch would play. I think Arch would take the time and get the 2 years as a starter before he comes out. I do. He may be eligible to come out in 2026, but I don't foresee him coming out to 2027. Just because a lot of the other decisions are financial, I don't think that he's struggling for anything. I think that they will want the reps and development for him, especially if you listen to some of the things that his uncles are saying. I don't think he comes out in 2026. Now, if he has a historical season, then maybe. And they don't think he needs the extra year, maybe. But as it stands right now, I really see Arch coming out in 2027. If we talk about just him getting game reps, developing, being a quarterback, being ready to play the moment he gets into the NFL, I could definitely see him taking an extra year. Exactly. Because remember, Arch might not like the NCAA up his first year as a starter. He might not. He might be able to improve. Now listen, he will still be a first round pick from the athleticism, arm strength, pedigree, all that other stuff, right? But there's a chance that he could separate himself from everybody and their mama with a dominant 2026 season. Especially if he has an opportunity to win a Heisman or compete for a national championship. Said, so I think Arch will ride the bench for 2 years here. No. 2 years, I don't see 2 years. Possibly. But we'll see. Because you have the 2025 season, 2026 season, draft them in 2027. And then I think Dak will be out in 2028. So we'll see. It's a possibility. But also, there's no rush to play him. Patrick Mahomes said for an entire year behind Arch. I'm finna rename people, so y'all forgive me. Patrick Mahomes said for an entire year. So listen, if things aren't working out with Dak in the last year of his contract, y'all might have that conversation. But if Dak balling and you want to give Arch an extra year to marinate, that's up to your discretion. Because listen, even if Arch Manning sits for 2 years and learns and develops, you still control his contract for another 3 years. He'll be a first round pick. So he can develop for 2 years, play for 3, and you'll probably have him extended by the middle of the second season any damn way. Yes, that is Peyton Manning nephew. Yeah, final year is of that contract in 2028. So listen, even if you did sit Arch for 2 years, you control his contract for another 3 after that. So I wouldn't mind it. I do not know if he's having a watch party or not. I have not talked to Cuz. I've been busy working. Picked up a second job recently, so that's really why y'all ain't seen me a lot. You know, I got off after midnight last night from my second job. So if you're wondering why there has not been as much content, it's not because the Dallas Cowboys are bad. In all honesty, there's probably more to talk about now that the season is all but lost. There's more scenarios, more stuff going forward, you know, that we could touch on. It's not because of the season, it's because my time been preoccupied. So I'm gonna try and do more content as time goes by, you know, just to give y'all my thoughts and everything else. Hey, indeed, man. Hey, you gotta run it up. Christmas time coming up. Got stuff to pay off. Got stuff we trying to do. Places we trying to travel. So, you know, we gotta get to the money, man. Gots to get to the money. But 2025, what we do know are these things. The Dallas Cowboys will have probably a last place schedule. We'll either have a last place or a third place schedule because we're going to be toward the bottom of the division. We also know the Dallas Cowboys will have cap room. We'll have over $100 million in cap space that we can create. And we'll also have high draft picks to go along with that. So this is my thought process for me. I am somebody who wants to compete right now. I want to compete. And the reason I think we could compete if we wanted to is because we've seen it with similar teams like the Cincinnati Bengals. People forget, from the time that Joe Burrow got there, they went to the Super Bowl the second year. Because remember, they drafted Joe Burrow and T. Higgins in the same draft. Joe Burrow got hurt. The team was bad again. And what did they do? They went and they drafted Jamar Chase. They went in free agency and got Trey Hendrickson. They brought in the different guys on defense to shore up their defense. They built that defense basically, a lot of the key components in one off season through free agency, spending some money. Right? And, that's also one of the reasons why the offensive line has been so bad, is because I don't think they thought they would be that good that soon. So they got them some weapons. They got them a defense. They had a run game because Mixon was there. But, they had a glaring hole in the offensive line. But they were good enough to compete, win games, got hot, and were able to win some playoff games as well. Got to get to a Super Bowl, come up a play or two short from walking away with their dub. So that's why I feel the Dallas Cowboys could do something similar. Because just like them, you'll be coming in playing a softer schedule. You'll have high draft picks to get the best players available if you want to do that. You have the money to completely rebuild one side of the ball that you decide. You could be like Cincinnati and rebuild your defense through free agency, or you could rebuild your defense through the draft and rebuild your offense through free agency. You could go out there and be spenders in free agency and sign T. Higgins. Speaking of the Bengals, you can sign T. Higgins, who will be available. You could go out here and sign you a free agent running back that you feel could help your offense be more balanced. Right? Those are things you could do. The question is, will the Dallas Cowboys do it? More so, can they do it? And then if you're from the second line of thought, let's say, Henny, that's all true. But we know they ain't going to do that. So stop giving us hope. Stop giving us hope. We're not going to do that. We're going to draft one side of the ball, be bad at the other side, and then we'll draft the other side next year. And that's how you feel if you don't think the Dallas Cowboys can be competent. If you don't think the Dallas Cowboys can compete next year, then draft whatever. It doesn't matter. You'll be bad. You'll be bad next year again, even with the weaker schedule. You just got to live with it. But in a year or two, from next year, you'll probably be a good team. Because if you hit on that draft and you hit on the next draft, you're back in business. But I personally want to try to compete right now. Because you have Dak Prescott for the next 4 years. You have CeeDee Lamb for the next 4 years. I don't want to spend a year of that window, right, before we start over with a new quarterback, whether it be Arch Manning or a different quarterback altogether. I don't want to spend a year of that window not able to truly compete, knowing that there is a huge chasm in between us and the true contenders. I want to be able to go out there and clearly see the Dallas Cowboys have a path to victory each and every week. I want to know that my team is constructed well enough to, even when I'm playing a team like the 49ers or the Bills or Green Bay or the Chiefs or any of these other teams that are supposedly, true contenders in the NFL. I want them to be able to, line up and there's be a clear path to victory. I don't want my team to have any glaring weaknesses. I want my team to be able to run the football if need be. I want us to be able to throw the football when we need. I want us to be able to stop the run. I want us to be able to rush the passer. And of course, we already got the field goal kicker. All right, we got special teams on lock. That's fine. As long as we stop the fake punts for final special teams. So what I'm trying to say is I want my team to be valuable at every aspect of the game. And if they are that, then we have a real chance of winning any game against anybody. But the issue with that is we're currently nowhere close to that. We can't stop the run to save our lives. We can't stop a team from scoring consistently. We can't run the football. We really can't throw the football. You can't score points. You got held to 21 points or under 5 of the 8 games that Dak Prescott played. Dak Prescott was leading the National Football League by a wide margin in tight window contested throws because a lot of the times the other wide receivers are just not winning. And sure, you could possibly argue that some of that is schematical. But you know, scheme is not making Cavante Turpin drop the ball down the sideline in the 49ers game. Scheme did not make Jalen Brooks trip over his own feet and cause a pick six. You know what I'm saying? Like, scheme can only do so much. Like, scheme is just designed to get people open. You know what I'm saying? If you're designing plays and people are getting open, the scheme did its job. It's up to the player at that point to finish out the play. If scheme didn't make Flournoy fumble. So that's all I'm saying. Like, some of it is schematical. You can make an argument that some of it is schematical. But also, you don't have good players at the end of the day. Because it works both ways. Sometimes a scheme can elevate bad players. But good players can also elevate a bad scheme. Like, sometimes if you're a dynamic playmaker and all you're doing is running a simple slant, you can take that slant 60 yards to the house for a touchdown, right? Because you're special, you're different. We seen that with Odell Beckham. Turn a slant into a house call. We even seen it with Turp. We saw Turp do it because he's probably one of the fastest guys in the league, honestly. But that's neither here nor there. Point being is scheme can elevate players, but players can also elevate the scheme. Right? He said, Booth getting beat like a red-headed stepchild. Yeah. True. Very true. So listen, I'm going to go ahead and preface this because I'm not going to stay on here long. I'm going to go and get prepared for the game. You know, so I'm going to wrap this up in the next 2 seconds. But the Dallas Cowboys have a dilemma. They have the ability to be a competent team next year. They have the ability to build a team that can compete right away. The real question is, will they? Will they actually build a team that can contend next year with the cap space they have and the bukus of picks that they already have coming their way? There's a very good chance the Dallas Cowboys could have a top 5 pick this year. A very, very good chance they could have a top 5 pick. Will they do something with it is the question. But we out of here, man. I appreciate all y'all for taking the time to chop it up with me before the game. I'm finna go in here, get situated, watch the game, probably take a nap before it's time to go to work. I'm going to holler at y'all. God bless y'all. Please continue to sub to the channel. Continue to hit that like button. Continue to hit that share button. Continue to slap the shit out of an Eagles fan. Continue to hit that Cash App, man. Hey, Camo, I agree. And listen, I'm going to stand on that. If the Dallas Cowboys do not do anything in free agency next year, I'm out on this team. And that's it. I'm out on this team. They will not do anything in 2025 of note. The quarterback will still be in position to fail. The defense will probably still be in position to fail because even if you draft these great defensive tackles, it's not really plug and play for a one tech. Right, we see that with Mozzie Smith. He's still struggling. He was a first-round pick. He might not be at the pedigree of some of these other guys in this draft. But point being, if the Dallas Cowboys continue to rely only on the draft, I'm out on the 2025 season. But if they surprise the world, if they get this new head coach in and they try to appease him out the gate and they let him go shopping and get some players that he wants that can improve this team, we might be able to do something. But if they don't, shit, we ain't gonna win shit. And that's just straight up and down with them. That's me being straight up and down with y'all. But hey, peace, God bless, love you all. Never look down because